Alright, hello everyone. This is an unexpected episode of Let's Talk Esports. This episode is going to be about the World's group draws that just happened yesterday. I was not home yesterday, so I was not able to do the video yesterday like I wanted to, and talk about the group stages. Because some very important things actually happened yesterday. I would like to point out, or I wouldn't point it out yet, but before the group draw itself, on Friday, I was doing a lot of shifting around and possibilities of what the groups could end up being. And then halfway through it, I realized I had only put the groups. I didn't. I realized when I was trying to put it into the knockout stage that I couldn't, because the way I had set up all the possible groups was I just put it in standard A, B, C, D, CLG, Fnatic, SKT, LGD, which is what we have here. And the reason I came to the realization that I could not use that format as my knockout stage was because if something very important happens when you have the group set up this way, in A, B, C, D, NA, EU, LCK, and LPL format. The important thing here is that it removes the possibility of an LGD SKT final of Worlds. This actually means that one of those teams is going to get knocked out in the semifinals and will not win the World Championship, both of which happen to be favorites to win in general. That's something that you would expect to be a final. Which means that if people were speculating that it would either be SKT, LGD, or EDG to win Worlds, you're either going to see an SKT versus EDG finals or an LGD versus or EDG finals against, or SKT versus EDG or LGD versus EDG. Just like in the LPL finals for the or not the finals, the quarters, right? Finals, I think, or semifinals for LPL. I don't remember which one it was for playoffs. I think it was the semis, but essentially that's how it's going to work out. And I'll go over why in a few minutes, and you'll probably figure it out just by looking at the knockout stage. But I'll go over the possible chances for each region, who I think has the easier and harder groups, and who I think is going to make it out of groups into quarters and semis and into the finals. So we're going to get started with Group A. Or I guess a little thing before, I did just get home and I'm doing this video. I came home to some nice things that I finally got, which is the new Pentolith shirt, which was updated for Madison Square Garden, and the blue new pro player jersey that CLG had put up. So now I'm just waiting for the Darshan shirt, the other two wristbands, red and blue, and the Season 5 jersey. I still have the Season 4 one. They just put it up. But anyway, back into Worlds. Alright, so what we have here is actually a fairly easy group. I was pretty happy to get this group for CLG. I put CLG in the pick'ems as the #1 seed coming out of this group. That's just, I would like that to happen, but I don't think it will happen. I think if CLG gets first seed out of this group, they should have a fairly not easy but easier ride to the semifinals. If they get first in this group, I think they can make it to semis. However, if KU gets first, then they're done in quarters, because we'll go over next, or when we get to knockout stage, I'll go over why I think that. So essentially, coming into this group, CLG and KU Tigers, obviously the favorites for this one. Yowie Flash Wolves are pretty decent too, though. The LMS region itself has been growing quite a bit over the last year. And then Pain Gaming, who looked fairly strong against INTZ in the Brazil finals, but we don't actually know how well or how good INTZ actually is compared. Only because they did say they were scrimming in NA as like a boot camp. And they said they did well, but we can't actually tell how true that is. Without actually asking the teams and that kind of thing. So this group, fairly basic. I'd say it's probably the easiest group of the entire group stage. It's so hard to tell. You have arguably the worst first place team from the regions. Um, I wouldn't say the worst second seed either, because Coup Tigers isn't worse than H2K. I believe H2K should have been third seed. I believe Coup Tigers could beat TSM, so they're probably the second best out of the regions. I know they can beat Yowie. So they're actually probably the favorites. Oh no, they're second compared to EDG because EDG is also a second seed. Um, so when we're looking at this group, the big things about this group is how well the bottom lanes are going to play out. So essentially, what you have is the really strong bottom lane in this group. I think it's probably the top bottom lane in the group is Doublelift and Afromo, and then next you would have Prey and Gorilla. Is it still Gorilla? I totally just forgot the support for GE Tigers. Hold on. I think it's Gorilla. I'm pretty sure it's Gorilla, but I'm about to find out. It is Gorilla. Alright. So Prey and Gorilla are probably the second best bottom lane in this group. And then after that, you have the Yowie Flash Wolves and Pain Gaming. So Pain Gaming in the bottom lane is mostly known because of BRTT. He was okay. He's not bad. Dowd, though, compared to Afro Moon Gorilla, this guy isn't that great. Afro Moon Gorilla are I wouldn't say they're probably top 5 of the supports right now in the World Championships, in the group stages in general. Well, group stages, everybody. So they're probably top 5 out of everyone. I would say the only bottom lane better than Double and Afro is probably going to be maybe Bang and Wolf. Possibly, we might actually be able to see that in the knockout stage. Other than that, I want to say Imp and PYL. Imp and PYL are probably the best bottom lane in the world right now. Then obviously you have Deft and Mako, who I would actually like. I mean, we've seen it a bunch already in LPL. So I mean, there's really not much to see there, but I'm excited to see Deft and Mako versus Bang and Wolf. But I still think Deft is better than Bang, or Deft and Mako are better than Bang and Wolf. Yeah. So then, other than that, I mean, or other than Pain Gaming, you have the Flash Wolves, and the Flash Wolves bottom lane being NL and Sword Art. Sword Art is pretty good. Sword Art is actually a really good support. NL is okay. He's not the best AD carry, but he's also not the worst. I wouldn't say he's by far anywhere near the worst in the tournament either. But Sword Art is definitely the top. I would give Sword Art probably top 8 of supports in the tournament. Sword Art is actually pretty good. He's fairly decent. So what do I expect coming out of this group? In this group, I don't expect a 2-0 from Coup Tigers against CLG. I expect CLG to take at least one game from Coup, so I expect that to go 1-1. And maybe a tiebreaker at the end to see who gets first. But I see a very close race between Yowie Flash Wolves and Pain Gaming. To either get the third place seed or even the second place seed. Really, anything can actually happen in this group. I don't think it's very likely that Pain will get the second seed and make it out of groups, or Yowie Flash Wolves. Although Flash Wolves have the better chance, I don't think they'll get out. Granted, CLG does have CLG is now using Huhi as the jungler rather than Xmithy because of visa issues. I still think that comparatively, I mean, I haven't seen Huhi play jungle very much, so I can't really say much about it or how well he'll do against Hojin. So I mean, who knows? I don't think it will really impact much in the group. I think just because who he is the one playing jungle, I don't think it'll really affect anything. Just because of where the team's strength comes from in this group specifically. So it's mostly the bottom lane and the top lane. Um, Obviously because of Rush Hour, and then you have Zion and Smeb in the same group, and then the wild card in this group is actually going to be the mid laners. So you're going to have Pobelter versus Kuro. Kuro's not a bad mid laner. He's not a great mid laner either, but neither is Pobelter. They both have their weaknesses that junglers are going to have to help out for, or supports, in which case I think CLG will win because I think Afro is a better roaming support than Gorilla right now. Um, like I said, I don't know too much about who he's jungling, so I can't really say that the support jungle synergy and pathing of CLG will be better than Crew Tigers. But we'll have to see. And then Maple is going to be the big one coming in for Flash Wolves. Maple, uh, did he? No, he was mid at Katowice. I'm pretty sure. I thought he was AD carry at some point, but I'm pretty sure he was still mid. But Karsa, he's okay. It's for really when it comes down to like Crew Tigers versus anybody, it's whether or not Stake can perform and survive against Smeb and Zion. I think Zion and Smeb are the best top laners in this group by far. Mylon from Pan is alright. Nothing major though. So it's really gonna come down to bottom lane focus and top lane focus when it comes to CLG versus Crew Tigers, which are the clear favorites of this group. So my predictions for this group, I want to say Crew Tiger is probably going to go through as seed 1. But I can hope for CLG to get seed 1. So we'll talk about this why the seeds matter in a little bit with the knockout stage. So Group B, coming into it, you have Fnatic, IG, AHQ, and Cloud9. So this group is actually fairly difficult. It's the first time that Fnatic will probably be tested as an well, it will be the first time that Fnatic will be tested against IG and AHQ. AHQ have been looking fairly strong recently. They have pretty much an equivalent or even more dominant domestic split or season than as Fnatic did. I want to say AHQ's domestic run has kind of been on the same level as SKT's domestic run this split and in the winter season a year ago. So AHQ is looking pretty good. It's going to be all down to, in this group, it's going to come down to Febivin, Rookie, Incarnation, and Westor. Westor coming back from Worlds again, just like last year. He's a super good player. I think he's playing fairly well right now, specifically. The way he roams and the way he can just bully his lane is all right. At times, if he can pull out that bully style, in the group stages, I think they should do fairly well. He is also kind of known to be very passive and lose his lane, but then come back kind of mid and late game. Which I think they talked about on the reactions to the group stages live on yesterday. But I don't know. I still think if he's able to find a way to bully his lane and actually straight up win, he should be able to. He should be able to do fairly well against Incarnation, at least. I don't know. Febivin and Rookie seem to be on a whole other level right now. Febivin showed some weaknesses against Origin in the finals for EU, but Rookie in the gauntlet play and like playoffs in general was playing out of his mind. I want to say in this group, Rookie is probably the best mid laner by far, or maybe not by far, but he's definitely up there. He's definitely ahead of them, and it's fairly easy to tell. For Cloud9 in this group, I think it's very important that they focus on Sneaky and let Incarnation have some sort of control mage that he can sit back and farm on and then push the wave, because it's all going to come down to Sneaky. We all saw it in the Gauntlet. Sneaky played out of his mind. Incarnation stepped up when he was able to just farm and sit back. High's jungle pathing is going to be crucial in this game. I think up against Fnatic, he's going to get wrecked by Rainover. And then even up against IG, like, against Cacao, one of the best junglers in the world, like, for the past 3 years. And then he's only been playing for maybe 5, 6 weeks of jungle. You don't see it, like, it just won't happen. Like, Cacao's pathing will fucking wreck you, man. He's just gonna go down. I don't see Cloud9 making out of this group, especially because Kid and Kitties is doing fairly well as a bottom lane, and bottom lane is Cloud9's best area right now. I think Balls will get wrecked by Ziv. I think Balls will get wrecked by Huni. I think he will also get wrecked by Zatai. Like, there's just no chance. Unless their boot camp went really well, there's just no chance. I don't see it. There's no way. There's so many weak points in Cloud9 right now that they can focus on the upper half of the map, that Cloud9 is going to have to, like, lane swap every game just to get some sort of lead, I think. That's just how it is. Like, all these other teams in this group will absolutely run Cloud9 off of the map easily. There's almost no chance. Or there shouldn't be a chance, I should say. Unless AHQ, like, breaks down or something, there shouldn't be a way that Cloud9 gets out of this group. AHQ needs to break down, and that still doesn't get them out of groups. I can't even say anything about Invictus and Fnatic. Like, comparatively, I don't see any weakness between... I don't see any weak areas that Cloud9 could attack on Invictus's side or Fnatic's side. I just don't see it. There's really no weaknesses that they can attack. Everyone else is just decently better. Reckless, you can't really attack. He's a safe laner. He plays for the lane, and then he plays for the late game. So there's, like, you can't do anything to that. Like, you have to really focus on that. But if you focus on that, Huni is absolutely going to stomp Balls. Like, it doesn't make, like, it's over. There's literally no chance. So the Cloud9, I think, they got a little unlucky for this group. I'd say there's still a chance just because High is a really good shot caller, but then again, you have people like Cacao and Yellowstar that also shot call pretty well or in the group, so I mean, I don't see it. So in this group, I'm going to say Fnatic IG. I think that could go both ways. However, if it goes both ways, I think it'll be very close between number 2 and 3 seed to get out of groups, because I think AHQ could actually do a really good job in this group. Seeing how they came out of the domestic play, I think AHQ has a shot of getting out of this group. I don't want to say fairly easily, but this group is pretty close. But I do say Fnatic IG. That's my prediction. So Group C. I don't see much to talk about in this group, except for the fact that SKT and EDG are in it, and SKT and EDG are going to get out of the group. Like, that's pretty much it. Oh, God. It's like a rematch from MSI, so I'm excited to see these matches. H2K versus Bangkok. I think H2K will win. I don't think Bangkok will win a single game. I don't know, unless H2K like really shits the bed. There's really not much to talk about Group C. This might actually be the easiest group, even compared to Group A, only because Group A has 4 teams that are pretty equal in skill, and Group C has 2 teams that are pretty equal in skill and 2 teams that are not even close. So that's probably the easiest group in terms of we already know who's going to get out, and it's going to be SKT and EDG. So, Group D. Group of Death is what I like to call this one. So, I had so much conflicting emotions with this group because, yes, TSM got screwed. Damn, so did NA. But I'm so conflicted, you know? Like, free SM. Literally, in this group, it's free SM. I think they're going to get wrecked. I think they might be able to pick up wins against Origin. And that's it. I think they'll go 1-1 with Origin. That's it. I think Origin will end up the same way. I think they'll go 1-1 and probably not win anything else. Unless Origin plays extremely well against KT, it's possible. If TSM's boot camp goes really well, I think they could pick up a win against KT. But KT, they're coming in as the third seed from Korea, but it's kind of like Origin, where they should have been seed 2. And it should have been Origin in the SKT group and H2K in this group. In which case, TSM probably could have gotten out of it a little easier. But LGD is going to win this group by far. I didn't go over that with Group C. So Group C, I'm going to say SKT and EDG. And then Group D, like I said, LGD is going to get number 1. I don't think anybody can even argue that. I'm going to say KT number 2. I think KT is going to get out of the groups. You don't really see a way for TSM and Origin to get out of the group unless they have this miracle run and this super good boot camp. So who knows? But that's my predictions for these groups. Now we'll go into how that affects the bracket stage, because there are some very important things. So in the bracket stage, we have quarterfinals, or best of 5s now. And essentially the quarterfinals are going to have, or it's going to start with first seed from B1, which I'll say is going to be Fnatic, against D2, which would be KT Rolster. So you have C2, which would be EDG or SKT. That could actually go either way, but I'm going to say it's going to be EDG. So that's a Fnatic versus EDG quarterfinals. Then you have A1 versus D2. So I would like it to be CLG versus KT. I think that would be a great matchup, but realistically, it's probably going to end up being Q Tigers versus KT, which is basically just another day in LCK. And then you have... Alright, so I'll finish these quarterfinals first. So essentially, you're going to have Fnatic versus EDG. EDG is going to go through into the semifinals, and then CLG or KT. I want to say CLG could beat KT in a best of 5, and then if it's Q Tigers versus KT, it's going to be KT going to the semifinals, in which case you'll have an EDG versus CLG or KT semifinal. And then on the other side of the bracket, you have Group C, C1, which is SKT, and then you have A2, which would be Q Tigers in my book, which could also be CLG. And then you have LGD versus Invictus, which could also go either way, or Fnatic, that type of thing. So if we look at it this way, here's where the real here's where the problem with this setup actually lies. This is what I found when I was writing down all this stuff and trying to figure out what the bracket stage could be. Because when you look at it this way, when you have SKT and LGD in Group C and D, one of them's not getting to the finals, and that means one of them that deserves to win Worlds is not going to win Worlds. So you look at it this way: you have SKT versus... It doesn't even matter. So let's put CLG in there. You put or KT. It doesn't matter. SKT is going to win that and go to the semifinals. And you have LGD versus Invictus or Fnatic. Either way, LGD is going to win that group. And then you have an SKT versus LGD semifinal, which very well should have been the actual finals. And then when you look at it this way, you're looking at EDG versus CLG or KT semifinal. EDG is probably going to win both of those no matter what. Unless EDG flops CLG, if it's CLG in the semifinal, I think CLG might... They have a chance to pick up a few games. I'm being hopeful right now. They have a chance. If EDG flops like they did in the playoffs for LPL, CLG can beat EDG. Same thing goes with KT. If EDG flops like they did in the playoffs, KT could easily take down EDG, and you'd have a KT versus SKT or LGD final. which you wouldn't expect. Like you would expect the finals to be the best teams in the world, which are SKT, LGD, or EDG, and you won't have that. It's possible that you can't have that. I personally would have preferred to see an SKT versus LGD final rather than a semifinal, but that's how it's gonna happen. So when the time comes for that semifinal, like where's the schedule? What's the date for that? Oh, full match schedule isn't available to the 18th. Okay, whatever. I'm pretty sure the semifinals start on the 20th of October, or sometime around there. So sometime over there in the 20th of October. Let me look at the calendar. Let's see where that ends. Let's see where that ends up. Yeah, so it might end up being the 18th or the 19th and the 20th of September, which is a Saturday and a Sunday. And then on the 23rd, we'll come back here on a Wednesday and say, hey, a month ago, I pointed out LGD versus SKT in the semifinals because that's just how it's going to happen. Although, that's how it would happen with this type of bracket stage. However, I think I read somewhere else that this can actually still change, where it's not. This is just an example, and it's not actually how the knockout stage will be put out. But if this is the way the knockout stage is set up, then there's not going to be an SKT versus LGD final, which sucks. I think that's stupid. That's actually like if there is no Thorin video about these groups saying how the system is still flawed, even though he did one, I'll be surprised because that's something that I feel like he'd probably talk about quite a bit because like these are literally two best teams in the world right now, and you're gonna see them in a semifinal rather than a final of the World Championship. That doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know. All I'm saying, CLG number one of groups. CLG makes it out of quarters. CLG makes it out of semis. CLG wins Worlds against SKT. That's how it's gonna happen. No, that's a shit storyline. All right, hold on. I'll set the stage. So CLG is going to have a brutal match against this entire group, and then they're going to go through, and then they're going to play KT Rolster, and then they're going to go 0-2, and they're going to reverse sweep. They're going to finally take back the faith that we gave Cloud9, and they're just going to reverse sweep KT. And then when they get to the semifinals, they're going to go up against EDG, and then they're going to look at EDG, and Doublelift is going to see Deft. And Deft is going to be there trying to be all friendly because he knows he's friends with Reckless too. And then Doublelift's going to be like, Imp is better. And then that whole relationship shatters. And Deft cries because he remembers what happened last year at Worlds. And then it's just Tilt City. Tilt City, Doublelift shits on Deft the entire way. And because of Deft's tilting, some days over here trying to like help Deft and calm him down, and all of a sudden Zion's going to come out of nowhere, and Zion's going to body someday, and then CLG's going to win 3-2 in the semifinals against EDG, and then they're going to come up against LGD in the finals, and Doublelift's going to look up to his Lord and Savior, Imp, and he's going to ask for his grace. He's going to ask for this moment, because he had it last year. And because Doublelift asks this, and because Doublelift and Imp are friends, it's going to be a 5v4 for CLG against LGD, because Imp is going to handicap them, and instead of playing, he's going to decide to roll on the grass and enjoy the moment while he's there. And because of that, CLG wins 3-1, LGD. CLG wins the finals. Doublelift lifts up another trophy. And that's the storyline of 2015 World Championships. I'm calling it right now. Patenting it. That's it. That's my prediction. And that's how it's going to go down.